Uh, I have made up this title because I really like it, and I think when you're in the marketing world, it's all about being amazing. All right, so what do? We provide online digital marketing services, anything from web development to search engine optimization, online advertising, anything to do with content development. We are the people that look at data and we create content or a strategy that fits your business. And that's basically what we do. And I would love to have one-on-one with anybody who's interested. And babe, I'll give it back to you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Miriam. For those of you guys who already know Miriam, she's literally the Chief Amazement Officer, a great friend of mine, and I'm privileged to know her and to be doing these sessions together. I'm Babe. You guys can see me on the screen. I spent, I want to say 20 or 25 years in the corporate world, largely within growth-oriented. I'm using air quotes here for a reason, but growth-oriented roles. So I started off, in analysis moved into strategy moved into then P&L ownership, whether it's through marketing, product development, pricing, and then leading sales organizations. And then I had, large and vast teams, certainly at TELUS and then at People Corporation. And I realized that I can, leverage these skills and help businesses that may not benefit or may not be able to acquire and have, resources such as myself, like a TELUS and so on, to have, 70,000 people. And it's been a great time doing this on a consulting basis with Forge Growth Advisors. Miriam and I have been chatting for a little while, and I know there's a lot of anxiety in the market as it relates to, how the markets are doing, this potential recession. You got the tariffs. It's just anxiety, right? Anxiety everywhere, and it's not necessarily. I don't see an immediate, end to the, to this tunnel. So we thought let's put on a series of webinars on how to recession proof your revenue. And many of these elements that we're talking about last week was all about your ideal client profile and serving your best clients and growing through them. Today's session is all about setting up the right sales systems, and that's what I'm going to be speaking about. And then Miriam's going to take over. But how do we set up the right sales systems? How do we set up the right sales processes so that we become more efficient and more successful in executing our strategies and ultimately driving growth and making sure that whether it's shrinkage of budgets, which happen during a downturn, recessions, and so on, or just simply making sure that we're a lot more effective in the market. So with that said, what do we do, right? We want to
Oh,
drive,
sorry, before you start, I just wanted
yeah,
to mention that if anybody has any questions, the
please,
chat
yeah.
is open. Please stop us, ask your questions, or put it in the chat bot.
Mm.
If we're going too fast, let us know. And if you want us to stop, just feel free to share with us. I'm sorry for interrupting you, babe.
No, I'm actually glad you did. It gave me a moment to get more caffeinated, take a breath. I am going to be zipping through this because I realized as I was prepping over the weekend and this morning, there is a lot of content. So I'm going to try to keep it high level, but please, one, ask questions, interrupt me at any time. You don't need to put up the hand on the Zoom because I'm not going to see it, but please interrupt me, ask questions, and then definitely afterwards, if you want to reach out, I'd be more than happy to have a conversation and work through it. So I already kicked this off. I talked about focus and structure. So let's just jump to this slide here. Typically, what happens when things are not working, either if it's there's anxiety in the market with a potential recession, budgets are shrinking, and so on. What ends up happening is people start scattered. They start operating in a scattered manner. They become incredibly reactive. Obviously, it's because the stress is up. And they think if I just hustle more, if I work harder, I'll be able to get success. Last week, when we were talking about setting up and focusing on your best clients, I talked about this fishnet approach, right? Cast out a wide net and try to catch anything. And that's not the right approach. It's actually precision is the right approach. And today's discussion is all about setting up the right processes. So do you have the right processes in place? And then disciplined execution that's going to get you the right results. So sales success doesn't come from just hustle. I mean, hustle's good, but hustle's good when it is aligned with the right processes and disciplined execution, not frantic activity. So let me just move on. What are the symptoms, when we see, reactive selling? And we're going to focus a little bit more on selling today, but this actually applies across the board to any function, whether you're an SMB, whether you're an owner operator or a corporation, right? Large, many people in the environment, right? Typically, what ends up happening is you start missing follow-ups, right? So if you're frantic and if you don't have the right sales processes or just any processes, right? Good documented, executed processes, you start missing things, whether it's follow-ups with clients, follow-ups internally, and so on. You become incredibly inconsistent, both with your outreach to clients, with your, management internally. And as a result, again, from a sales perspective, your pipeline, you don't have visibility. It's just not being managed well, becomes scattered. And obviously, the consequences, guess what? Wasted effort, you're losing revenue. I mean, you're leaving money on the table, you're losing opportunities. And the worst part is actually your team becomes burned out. They become stressed. And that just becomes a, really bad corkscrew effect, working downhill. So how do we set up the right systems and what are the right systems? I think the very first thing, and this obviously is going to differ for every organization, but I've tried to keep this pretty high level. Understand what that client journey for yourself and for your organization looks like. And this is, illustrative, but it's pretty, exemplary of most organizations. When you're trying to engage with the client, the very first thing is, are they aware of who you and your organization are? Are they aware of the products and services that you offer, the value proposition that you put out there, and how potentially you can solve their problem or their opportunities, their challenges, their goals? Very first step. The second one is, have you engaged them? Whether it's through advertising, social media, direct outreach, either yourself, if you have sales teams, any sort of engagement with the client, because you want to begin to engage them, right? And remember, you're nurturing. I mean, there's a marketing funnel. I didn't put that, but it's kind of like an upside down triangle. You're working them through that marketing funnel. I've put this in a circular manner for a reason, and I'll get to that in a moment. But first you start with awareness, get them, informed of who you are. Then you want to engage them, and then hopefully, once you've engaged them, you're going to get to the point that you've nurtured them through the sales process. So now it's like, okay, we have an interest. Tell me more about your product and service. Tell me how it can help me, and so on. And so you begin to work through that sales process, that sales cycle, and having discussions. And you say, okay, well, based on the challenges you're trying to solve or the opportunities you have, the following product or service going to help you. Here's a proposal. You're going to get to the pricing and so on. And then, in terms of the closing, this is when you're finalizing your contracts, your T's and C's, the final pricing, all the conditions, and so on. And then lastly, the follow-up. And the follow-up is supremely critical because most people, they go, great, I've closed the deal, shake hands, get the money, hopefully you get the money, and then you move on, but you're not following up. And following up has a couple of critical layers to it. One, follow up once a deal is closed. Two, follow up through the delivery process. So if you have a delivery process where the client's receiving the product service, follow up with them then. Three, follow up with them through just engagement of asking how is the solution working out for you, right? You want to make sure that they're satisfied. And why it's so critical is you want to turn them from a client to an advocate. So they are now advocating for your product, service, for your brand, for your company, and so on. And then the reason why this is a circular manner instead of the traditional sales and marketing funnel is you want to go back to the awareness because you want to see, now that you've provided them one product or solution, how can you go deeper? And we're going to talk about that in another session in the following weeks, but how can you go deeper in terms of providing other products, services, other solutions to them, and or refining it, whether it's upselling them or, cross-selling them other products and so on. So just understanding this is going to be very critical. This is important from your sales process, but I think mapping it out across your entire business is very, very important, whether it's your client experience, your finances, and so on, and how things operate is very important. For sales, this is, again, very simple, but exemplary. Then we're going to get into the sales rhythms, right? The actual sales management functions. And I've, broken it down into, for the sake of this conversation, three different things. You have your sales cadences, your pipeline, and just the management tools that you can use. From a sales cadence, during my time at TELUS, I was there for many years, 11 years, and I was running all of these for many of those years. We used to have a Tuesday weekly flash call, we used to call it, once a week, every Tuesday, 10 a.m. And it's just a quick hit. It's a consistent meeting. We had clear agendas, so you're not having strategic meetings. Clear agenda, you want to check in and see what's happening within the business. What are the big opportunities? Are there hurdles that you're trying to get past? Do people need help? What's the level of help that they need, and so on, right? So it's pretty consistent. Your monthly becomes a little bit more strategic, and so on. And then you can do quarterlies and so on. But for the sake of this, consistent meeting schedule, very important. Having oh, I'm sorry. Was that?
That's okay.
Oh my goodness, that dropped. Give me 1 sec. I'll be right back on. I apologize. Um, in turn, can you guys see this, Miriam?
Nope.
I'm sorry. Right back on.
Now we can.
Okay, sorry about that, folks.
That's okay.
The second thing is having clear expectations and clear agenda. So like I said, that Tuesday flash call at TELUS, the entire focus was what's happening within the pipeline, what are the big opportunities, what are the hurdles, what support do the teams need? And I've written it down here. Reports are very helpful, but they should not be the be all end all. It should actually be focus on actions, right? If it's a hurdle, support needed, and so on. And sometimes it's just updates, right? Here's what's happening. The second element I talked about was pipeline visibility. Many organizations, and honestly, even companies like Telus, 70,000 employees, multi-billion dollars, they at times struggle with this. With pipeline visibility, you want to understand what deals you have in your pipeline, where they are within that pipeline staging, and the deals that are stuck. So back to that weekly flash call. Yeah, let's talk about the stuck deals. How can I help? Right? Are they moving along? Have I reached out, sent a proposal, and not hearing back? Identifying next steps is going to be very, very critical, both for yourselves internally, for yourself as an owner operator, for your sales teams, but also for the client, right? Having clear expectations and working with them. And then tracking velocity and then the various conversion metrics are pretty important. So I'll say I talk about velocity here and the conversion metrics. At TELUS, we had a system called QQVB, quantity, quality, velocity, balance. Quantity being how much we have in the pipeline total. Quality, what are the quality of the deals, right? So where are they at within the various sales stages? Are they close to closing? Have I just reached out? It's an idea I should reach out to a client. Velocity, how quickly do we move through the various sales stages? And then balance, make sure that you're not just focused on the day, the week, the month, but also we have enough, several months out, 6 months out, whatever it is, so that you don't get surprised. And then in terms of tools, right? Some companies have CRMs, wonderful. Some CRMs are cheaper, others more expensive. Look, you don't need a CRM if that's, if you're a small business, that's fine. You can even use simple tools like Excel. It's okay. However, make sure that it's effective. Make sure that you have, the right level of data, the client name, the sales stage it's at, what the opportunity is, what you're solving for, what product or service you're selling, potential pricing, actions, next steps, and so on. And that helps not only you as owner operators, leaders, and so on, but simply it helps your sales teams and it helps to manage the client effectively. And then the most critical thing is consistency as you go through this. Um, let's continue to move. So in terms of your leads, we talked a little bit about client management last week, and in terms of the prioritization, this theme's going to come up, and I know it's pretty self-explanatory, but it's not consistently used. And I bring this up not because I don't believe everyone knows about it, but rather just the implementation of it. And again, even companies like TELUS have struggled with it as well. You want to prioritize the right leads and put your efforts into the right leads. Last week was putting your efforts into the right clients. In this case, it's those right leads, right? Your high priority leads, as you're ranking them, as you're reviewing your opportunities, who are the high priority leads? It's the ones that have the strongest fit with your ideal client profile, what we discussed last week. And the videos are out there, the recordings and the slide decks you guys can download. They have clear buying intent. So they've indicated that, yes, we have clear alignment to what you have to sell. We're looking to buy it. We have the budgets. I'm the decision maker or the decision maker's line. Okay, well, these are high priority leads. You want to put most of your effort there. Focus on them when you're having your sales meetings, your sales cadences, and so on. The nurture ones, you reached out, there's a good fit, but they're not ready or they don't have the budget right now. Future business, and set yourself reminders. Again, whether it's in Excel, whether it's in your CRM, set a reminder to follow up with them, down the line. And then the ones, tier 3, minimal effort, they don't have budgets, there's no interest, again, 6 months out, a year out, follow up, see if there's a potential fit, or there might not be a fit, and that's okay, right? They don't need the product service that you sell, and that's fine. You don't want to spend too much effort there. And then the last two quick slides I'll focus on is just your follow-up strategies, right? What's critical, again, this is both for focus internally as well as externally. Clear next steps. I talked about a couple slides ago on being action-oriented. Well, you want to have very, very clear next steps as you engage both your sales teams, if you're coaching them, and your clients. Make sure that it's clearly outlined, play it back to the client at the end of the meeting, just to make sure that you clearly understood and they feel that you've acknowledged them, and then you're fully aligned. Next steps in terms of timing, steps is in terms of, the product services that are required and so on. The second one is use the channels that are aligned to the client's needs. Some will prefer email, some prefer phone calls, text messages, whatever works for the client, and align it with them as you're having those clear discussions. And then lastly, the follow-up timings, right? I'd say typically the right rule is 24 to 48 hours. Give them a moment to digest. You don't want to be too quick, but also don't leave it for too long that they say, oh, who? Oh, I forgot about that, or they've moved on, right? You want to be, hit it, I guess, what does it say? Hit it while it's hot. So make sure that you're following up, within the right timing. And again, align it with them when you're having that closing discussion in the calls. And then the last thing I'd say, from my own learnings, what I've done, both with my current clients, existing clients, previous clients, and at TELUS, micro coaching typically works best. While some people will need to go through, sales 101 schools or sales 201, which is fine, micro coaching is very critical. Timely, quick review of, do the quick check-ins, do the deal reviews, ask what support they need, make sure that, there's clear alignment in terms of agendas, how you can help them. And then you just want to make small little adjustments, right? So as you're going through the, say, deal reviews, be very action-oriented, focused, and continue to give that coaching on how to move them to the next step. And I know there's, the tongue-in-cheek saying, what's the goal of meeting number 1 to get to meeting number 2? And I know, like I said, it's a bit of tongue-in-cheek, but there is relevance in implementing that, and always just continue to, you don't want to jump too many steps. Micro coaching, move everyone up the ladder just a little bit. So I know I zipped through a lot there, very, very quick. It's pretty high level. I'm happy to go into much more depth with the folks on the call. And if anyone would like to follow up with me afterwards, I'd be delighted. I'll pause for a second to see if anyone has any questions before I hand the mic to Miriam. All right, clear as crystal clear then.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
Thanks.
I am going to share mine. Can you see my screen, everybody? Yeah? Okay. So
Yeah.
what I've done is I've mirrored everything Bay spoke about and added our digital marketing twist to it. And let's get started. As we already went through who I am, so I'm going to be sharing this presentation along with Bay's presentation on our websites, both digitalmarketingexperts.ca. And can you, Bay, share your
I'm going to put all my
website,
contact
Forge Advisor?
details and Forge Growth Advisors website.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
And we're also going to share this on, you will receive an email from us with the links to this webinar plus to the presentation. So you have them. And all the footnotes and everything we talk about, it's all going to be added into the PowerPoints as well. All right, let's get started. When we talk about, one of the things that the reason we started this is because there is a bit of a uncertainty in our economy. We don't know what's going to happen. So when economic conditions tighten and budgets shrink, every call, every email, every meeting must be tied to a system that allows measurable process and progress report. A structured sales process kind of creates a predictability and reduces chaos in like winging it. And you kind of don't want your sales team to be masters of winging it, my apologies. What we recommend is creating a process automation. And this kind of creates repetitive tasks like follow-ups, reminders, pipeline updates, and lead scoring to be automated, and kind of gives us that bit of a consistency that we need. You can use tools like HubSpot, Salesforce, or Zoho CRM to reduce any sort of a manual work that you have to do in that. So the next one is creating a cloud-based resources like scripts, objection handling guidelines, proposal templates, to kind of streamline and make life much easier, and make sure that everybody stays on the message. So you don't want your sales team to be wasting time recreating materials. Sales leaders can use dashboards to kind of track their performance metrics, conversion rates, customer acquisition cost, and lead response time. These are big KPIs that you want to track. And this kind of helps you create a very strategic allocation of time, budget, and kind of make sure that your efforts are focused on the highest ROI activities that you can get. One thing that happens, whether we're going through a downturn in our economic growth or any business, it's reactive selling. So reactive selling is something that a lot of sales teams do because they feel pressured to close deals. Excuse me, close deals really quickly, and they kind of they don't care about any strategy. They abandon it, and they go after chasing random opportunities. And this kind of sacrifices that long-term consistency, and it replaces it with short-time relief. And we don't want that. We want something that has been strategically planned out. We don't want anybody to think of our company as credibility as something that's not, that it's wishy-washy. And we want consistent messaging. And if you don't have that, your sales team will be burnt out because they're just chasing everything out there. So how do we do a proactive rather than a reactive mode sales sequence? What we recommend is creating lead nurture sequences. So instead of waiting for prospects to kind of circle back, automate nurture emails. And if you are using Constant Contact or MailChimp, or you're using even your HubSpot, you can automate emails that nurture communications and keep the conversation alive. And you can help maintain engagement through very valuable insights, provide them with case studies, share customer stories, and keep your brand on top of everybody's mind. Taking advantage of analytics and any sort of KPIs that you should monitor is important. KPIs like deal velocity, calls to close ratios, and engagement kind of help your sales team to kind of identify what are the underperformance areas and how they can increase sales based on that. And the last is give your sales team every single digital asset you have in your vault. Make sure they have all your case studies. Make sure you have they have all of your short videos, one-pagers, any sort of a landing page, and this would prevent them from winging it. Or we don't want anybody to wing anything. So Bay touched up on this, and this is important: engagement, proposal, close, follow-up. This is the cornerstone of any sort of a proper sales that we do. And businesses should streamline their sales process into as simple steps as possible. So simplicity breeds scalability. Remember that. And How do we recommend doing this? Well, start with awareness. So in your awareness, make sure you have blogs that are SEO rich. Make sure you have YouTube videos and Google ads that will generate inbound leads. And make sure that this traffic is kind of created for the high intent landing pages. So these are landing pages that talk about the awareness towards the products and services that you're selling. As far as engagement goes, make sure you have a LinkedIn outreach campaign and personalized email sequences. And email sequences are so important. Email's been around for at least 30 years. And in the past, let's say past 20 years, we've used it for a big portion of the communication we have with each other or with our clients. And they're not going anywhere. So make sure that you take full advantage in a very proper way so you don't end up in their spam box. In a way, create sequences where it's very customized and targeted towards these individuals that you're trying to sell to. And then make sure you have webinars. The reason we created these webinars is because we've been told by a lot of our clients that they're worried and they're scared how things are going to turn out. So this was an opportunity for us to come up with these webinars and kind of establish that authority in the market and create that trust. You're here because you think we know what we're talking about. So this webinar is a really good content and it creates this engagement. Then we're going to take this webinar and we're going to, split it into videos and presentations and PowerPoints and put it on our website. So it's more content based on something that is of a value to you and to us. Proposals are very important. You cannot expect your team to sit there and create, multiple proposals every day. Use a digital proposal software tool like PandaDoc, Proposify. I use Quiller for a very long time. You can even use Canva if you don't want to use any of these. Canva doesn't give you any sort of like a major data analytics, but all of these other tools do. What you want to do is you want to showcase any sort of an ROI models that you have, testimonials, interactive elements that kind of helps these prospects and these particular people that you're trying to sell to visualize the value. And as far as closing goes, use e-signature tools like DocuSign and kind of speed up the decision making and make sure that you can eliminate any unnecessary friction. Set up a follow-up. That follow-up is so important. Automate sequences so you can nurture post-sale relationships. Share helpful content. Highlight, any sort of a cross-selling or upselling opportunities. Ensure your customer lifeline is as the value is as increased as possible. And again, with follow-ups, make sure that you are based on a strategic timeline. Don't do it too soon and don't do it too late. Make sure you know what your end users' wants are from you so you can reach them at the perfect time when you follow up to them. Okay, so sales thrive on rhythm, and we know this. So the survival mode of any business is based on consistency that creates stability. So without established cadence, your sales rep pretty much always lose focus and struggle with accountability. What you want to do is you want to establish a daily, a weekly, or a monthly rhythm. Start with morning check-ins, weekly pipeline reviews, and monthly strategy calls. Okay, so how do we do this? You can use sales cadence tools. So platforms like Outreach or Sales of Automate kind of send out a lot of emails that are based on like reminders. They send out emails, they do calls, and they can do LinkedIn touches. And then you can just, connect with individuals through LinkedIn in addition to everything else. And they help your team stay very disciplined. Pipeline visibility kind of centralizes, there's a lot of dashboards that allow managers and your sales team to kind of track the pipelines and the health of it in like one space. And they'll see where the triggers and how to, fix any sort of a bottlenecks. So there's a lot of tools that you guys can use. Lightweight CRMs, Google Sheets, or project boards like Trello. They kind of help your team in a really affordable way to maintain the accountability without overcomplication. You don't want to overcomplicate because they already have a lot on their plate. They don't need to add more into it. Okay, let's talk about focusing on high probability deals. Okay, so you want your sales team to focus on efficiency, and not every lead should get as much attention as the rest. So you, instead of chasing every potential buyer, your team should double down on the ones that are most likely to convert. So how do we do this? We're going to set up lead scoring models. So there's a lot of AI powered CRMs. If you have Zoho or Salesforce or HubSpot, they have that in there, that they automatically rank your leads based on their behavior. And that's so important because that makes a huge difference. If based on behavior, they've been there on as a webinar attending, and then they open the emails we sent them, and then they visited our website, that score goes higher. And this kind of helps your sales team to pursue these guys as like the hottest opportunity first. You want to set up an account-based marketing, or we call them ABM. So you want to personalize campaigns to high-value accounts and improve conversion rate. Okay, so you want to set up custom ads and personalized landing pages and kind of tailor how you get that prospect. Retargeting is a big one. Retargeting ads will keep your brand visible, and it makes it really easy for someone who is trying to make a decision if they want to work with you or not to make that final decision, because they continuously will see you. And this repeated exposure kind of nudges them closer and closer to set up a conversion with you, or like convert into being your customer. Let's talk about why people lose sales. So most sales are lost not because of the poor pitch, because of poor follow-up. So consistency and having a very professional follow-up kind of demonstrates reliability and builds trust. Now, the effective way of follow-ups kind of combines multi-channels. You want to send out an email, you want to call them, you want to reach them out on LinkedIn. If they're on Instagram or Facebook, you want to reach them however you can, and kind of retarget ads to them so your brand stays on top of their mind. And timing is so important. You don't want to follow up too, you don't want to come across as too pushy and follow up too soon. And you kind of don't want to wait too long and lose that momentum. I think Bay touched up on this as well. And this is so important. You want to create a right balance based on your customer's behavior. So you want to have this person in your CRM, so you know what their behavior is like. So you can automate and send reminders to your sales team or to yourself to reach out to this person. So how do we do this? So multi-channel outreach, you want to diversify touch points. So you want to reach them on email, social media, SMS, retargeting ads, and you want to put your brand in front of them as much as possible so they can build that familiarity and that trust in you. Set up follow-up automations. Use ActiveCampaign, HubSpot, you can use MailChimp. They will set up a pre-scheduled proposal reminder, and then they'll also set up a thank you note for you and maybe a meeting recap to kind of ensure that consistency. Now, does this work for every type of client? No, but this is why it's so important that you look at your analytics and understand the behavior of your customer. Okay, so timing optimization is a big one. So analytics tools kind of highlight when prospects engage the most with you. So if you send them an email, you can see their open rate. So for example, if they opened an email at 10 a.m. on a Tuesday, you kind of want to follow up strategic at the exact same time that they've checked their email. Training, and again, Babe touched up on this. Training cannot be a once in a corner activity when times are tough and there's a bit of a money is kind of limited. Micro coaching, short focus sessions designed to kind of address immediate needs are fantastic. They create faster improvements, and they're easy to foster for a lot of teams if you have one person on your team or you have multiple people on your team. So continuous improvement kind of ensures that your team is not just on a survival downturn mode, but also that they're learning and they're reinforcing accountability and they're keeping engaged and motivated. So how are you going to do this? You can look at on-demand training portals, host a digital library of short training videos, best practices, sales scripts that your team can use to learn their own at their own pace and revisit any sort of lessons that they learned or need to be learning more. Real-time coaching tools. There's a lot of AI-driven call analysis platforms like Gong or Chorus, and they provide instant insights into the tone and the objective and the handling and how your talk ratio is. And this kind of helps you understand how to correct your course and make life easier for you when you're talking to people on the phone. Uh, Gamification is another one. So you want to create a digital leaderboard and reward system to motivate consistency and improvement for your sales team. It could be achievement badges or any sort of like a healthy competition that helps them grow. All right, so we talked about a lot here. I'm going to open the room for any question that you might have. I think I saw something on the chat. Let me just go here. Folks, I know there's a oh, that's from me. There we go. Any questions? We're not that good, but you have questions.
Well, Miriam, first of all, I took myself off video so that, focus can be on yourself and your presentation. There is a lot of depth in the content there. Obviously, we can't run through it just, in a short webinar, two of us in 1 hour, and we don't want to overwhelm folks. With many of these elements, it's going to take, obviously time together and so on. Wanted to share the high level view of the various systems, the thinking, the tools that can potentially be used. But to Miriam's point of mine as well, more than happy to engage, happy to have a discussion, no fee, no cost, anything like that, just to understand your business, understand where you guys are at within the agent stage, the challenges or opportunities that you guys may experience. And then we can, work together on, how can we help you, where can we help you, and so on. So, I provided my contact details in the chat. Miriam will be doing so.
Amazing. Yes,
But yes, I
absolutely.
mean, definitely recognizing that there's a lot of content. Yeah. No, no,
Yeah,
no. So
this is
please do reach out to us if we can be of support and service.
yes. Thank you again. This was I'm glad you all were able to make it. As I mentioned earlier, we're going to be posting it on both our websites, foragegrowthadvisor.com and digitalmarketingexperts.ca. Bay's information is on the chat. Feel free to reach out to him or myself. There is no fee to chat. We would love to help you if we can. And if we cannot, we'll point you to the right direction. That being said, I'm going to end this meeting since there's no questions, and
Yeah.
I'll have
Thank you again,
everything
everyone.
uploaded.
Appreciate your engagement and looking forward to chatting soon.
Bye.